Hey everybody, it's Lady Kaylah here. Welcome to the Geekdom. Today I'm doing something a little bit different, a little bit of change in scenery. I have this new camera thing that I'm hoping works. It may or may not, who knows. I just think it would be nice to be outside every once in a while instead of my room. And yeah, so I'm going to do my racism and sexism in fantasy literature rant on George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. Just because it's my favorite series of all time doesn't mean that it's exempt from my little rant that I'm doing here, and just because it's everyone else's favorite doesn't mean it's exempt either. I have been a fan for 6 years. I think the books have been around for about 20 years, still unfinished. And I love George R. Martin and I love his work, and I just thought I needed to do a rant on it. So I honestly didn't find it offensive as a woman, and I didn't really find much sexism in it. And the reason I didn't feel offended was because we had such a wide variety of women. They were not one-dimensional. I've read a lot of books that, you know, in order to try to avoid offending women, they have made them all, you know, strong, weapon-wielding women, and they all seemed the same. I read a book where all the women were literally like the same character, you know, just different in appearance-wise and different name-wise, and I was just like, this is so boring, you know, just not all women are, you know, weapon wielders. You know, some of us do want to be mothers and stay at home and, you know, housewives. Some of us do want to do weapons, or some of us want to do both, or, you know, just there's so many different kinds of women out there, and it's offensive to just make them all the same, all one-dimensional, because you're trying not to offend us by not making women characters who are the strongest women out there, in my opinion. And in George R. R. Martin's world, we're given so many different kinds of women characters, from mothers to children to, you know, people who prefer to be single. You're given all sorts of different kinds of women, and I feel like that's what makes it not offensive to me. Also, the fact that, you know, it is a male-dominant world, yet all these women have different responses to this male-dominant world that they're living in. And this is a perfect example of what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't have a world that doesn't have sexist and racist issues within it, because it is a world, and, you know, humans are humans. And I'm just saying, don't be racist and sexist yourself. And here we have women living in this male-dominant world, and they do get discriminated against. And they, my cat's distracting me. They do get discriminated against, especially, you know, women who kind of break away from the traditional roles of this world, like Arya and Brienne. However, they're not forced to be in these roles. Even Arya's father, you know, paid for her sword lesson. Brienne, even though she gets made fun of and, you know, talked down on, nobody questions her capability with her weapon. Nobody's forced her to be a lady. Nobody tries to force her to be a lady. And I feel like with these women characters who aren't forced to be what they're not, George R. R. Martin is basically saying that, you know, women don't have to fit or, you know, do what society tells them to do. And then also we're given, you know, women who like being, you know, the lady like characters like Sansa. And, you know, we also feel like, you know, she's not any lesser of a woman because she wants to be, you know, a lady. And I feel like this is perfect, because you're given all different kinds of women who want different things, and yet none of them is lesser than, none of them is a worse kind of a woman for it. And, you know, they do have their negative traits, but all of them do, even Sansa, even Arya, despite which one is your favorite or if you hate one or the other. They have their strong traits, they have their weak traits, and I think that's perfect. But the greatest example of anti-sexism that I feel is in this book is Cersei, because she was one of the sad ones that was forced to be a lady. She was forced to be married to someone she didn't really want to be married to, because I think she wanted to be married to Rhaegar Targaryen, if I'm correct. But she was, you know, used for political reasons. And married to a man who didn't love her back. And we see that, she wanted to be like Jaime. She wanted to be trained in the sword. She wanted to have political influence like her father. And we see that she could have been a very capable leader, but because she's a woman, we've seen her broken down. We've seen the sexism in this world literally tear her apart. And I think this is George R. R. Martin saying, look what sexism does to these women, or, women like Cersei who are forced to be what they weren't. And I think that's the least, anti-sexist, or, I think she's such an anti-sexist character because we see what sexism has done to her and how it broke her down. We don't see George R. R. Martin saying, oh yeah, this is what a woman's supposed to do. She's supposed to accept her role. And then we are given a woman who does accept her role. We don't really get to see if she agrees with the sexism in her world or not, but she does accept her role, and that's Catelyn. So we're given yet another perspective of someone in dealing with the male-dominant world that they live in. And I think that this is just perfect. And I think that the variety of women just makes it so not sexist to me. And I've seen so many articles saying that George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire is so sexist. And I'm sure it has sexism in it, but honestly, I never felt offended, and I didn't really notice anything. So if you did, please leave in the comments below what you found sexist about it, if you think it's sexist. However, I think George R. R. Martin does have some stereotypical issues that he needs to work on when it comes to race. I mean, we have, your big black bodyguard, I think, that follows Daenerys, so stereotypical, not very smart, he just brute strength, he's not in depth as a character at all. We don't see much about him. And in the show Game of Thrones, the black man, Zorodoxos, whatever the hell his name is, he gets killed off in the show, and I think in the books he doesn't get killed off. So it's like, why would you kill off one of your only black characters when he didn't even need to be killed off? So weird. And, George R. R. Martin, his brown people, they're either exotic, like the Dornish. They're not beautiful, they're not, normal, they're exotic because they're brown and they're different culture-wise. So don't get me wrong, he doesn't say anything negative about the Dornish, however, they're not normal because they're exotic. And so, this may not sound racist, but it really is. And then we're also given our other brown people who are, not a proper society. They're barbarians, they are tribal people, and those are the Dothraki. So, it's just, I think he could work on that a little bit more. I do enjoy seeing tribal people, I do enjoy seeing exotic people, but there could be brown people who are fit into the normal society, which would be the most of Westeros, and the traditional houses like the Starks, Lannisters, and the rest of those, Martells, and all those big houses, and all the normal people are white. So we see this a lot in fantasy, and it's going to be repeated a lot. It's hard to avoid because you're mimicking other people, but I think since George R. R. Martin did so well with his women, I think he could do the same for the people of color in his world, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. I don't even think we get POVs from people of color. Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, I don't find him sexist, but I do see his use of stereotypes and all that, and I think he could work on his racism a little bit. I'm not saying he's racist, but the racism in the book could be worked on a little bit, because I think he did a really good job for his women. And you were going to tear up these pants, girl. She is digging in my leg. Anyways, that's all I have to say for the Song of Ice and Fire. Thank you for your time. Bye.